Hi writers, let's talk about paper number 1, which is an iSearch paper. So you may not be familiar with this type of paper before, but it's a paper that's intended to give you a really authentic research experience about a topic that is really interesting to you and that you feel sort of a need to know more about, a need to explore further. So be sure that you have read the introduction to this paper in the assignment sheet. The assignment sheet talks you through a lot of the details of this paper. It's a personal research paper, meaning you will be referencing yourself, especially in particular sections of this paper. And it's also a paper where you will be using sections. So each paper will have a section, each paper section will have a heading. You'll do very specific things within each section of the paper. Something really important about the iSearch paper is that it should be considered exploratory. So you are not looking to reinforce beliefs that you already have. Instead, you're looking for complex answers, different ways that people answer the question. So you're really researching as a scout, like looking for whatever information you can find from multiple different perspectives about this topic. Your goal is to gain more information, not just reinforce your pre-existing ideas about the topic. So in this case, we're researching something really relevant, and I'm going to urge you to choose a cause or an effect topic, just because those will help give you some structure, and those tend to be things that we're often very interested in. But of course, if you would like to consider some other sort of topic, let me know. But again, the topics that we're working on are causes or effects. So there are some examples here. Make sure you take some time to read those, such as you might start with a research question, and these are broad, and we'll work on narrowing them. But how does being a first-generation college student affect the college experience? You could start with wondering things about like that, especially if you are a first-generation college student. So again, it should be really relevant to your life. The topic needs to relate to your life, your experience, your interests in a really strong way. You might be wondering if you should go vegan or plant-based. And so you might wonder, how does a plant-based diet affect my health? Again, this is very broad. We would work on narrowing that, but it's a good starter type of research question that would be relevant to your own life and maybe even influence your decisions in the future. And that would be a really good way to think about relevance. But we've got to have a debatable, discussable topic with multiple perspectives rather than an easy answer. We don't want to ask what causes the sky to be blue, because there's an answer to that, right? There's one clear answer. We want a topic with complex discussion behind it. So something that, what are the causes of this type of thing? You want to make sure it's not just one clear, easy answer to find. So the iSearch paper, as you can see, will have 4 sections. Each of these sections will have its own heading, plus an MLA Works Cited page, which of course will be titled in that way. We'll have lessons on that in case you're less familiar with MLA, but hopefully in your Composition 1 course, you created a Works Cited page, maybe even an MLA Works Cited page. So you will have an introduction section, a search story section, discoveries and analysis, and research reflections and conclusions section. You can learn more about each of these sections here and what each section should include. And note too, these are estimates about a page. It could be like 3/4 of a page, depending on your topic. So these are estimates, not like hard line requirements. We'll talk more about each of these sections as we go through the drafting process on each of these sections, but you do want to have an idea of what you're expected to do so that you can choose a topic that works for what you're expected to do. So you need to make sure the topic that you choose fits the scope of this paper. Noting that where you give what you found in your research is going to be about 2 to 3 pages. So you want to make sure your topic is narrow enough that you can cover it in depth in 2 to 3 pages within the paper. Guidelines for choosing a topic here, and these are super important. You really have to want to know something about what you're researching because you have personal experience with it, or you're curious about it for professional or personal reasons. So it could be something related to your intended career field or your personal experience, but it should really strongly relate to your life, like I said before. Number 2, please choose a topic that you've not written about before in another class and you've never researched before. And the reason for that is, number 1, we want you to learn new things and not recycle your old papers. That's actually getting into self-plagiarism territory, and that's not ethical in the university setting. But also, you have to explain like what you knew before, how you conducted research, what you were curious about. So if you've already done it, it's going to be artificial. It's not going to serve the same purpose. Number 3, as you research, you need to be able to look for sources from all sides or different perspectives. Not everything has like a side necessarily, but every topic has different perspectives on it, at least if you've chosen something complex enough. So you're looking for all the evidence from many perspectives. You have to choose a topic that you can maintain an open mind about. So if it's something that you feel so strongly about that you cannot consider alternative perspectives on it as legitimate or having some legitimacy behind them, that's not the topic for this paper and not the topic for this class, in fact. Your research questions will be open-ended questions without easy answers, and we will work on, like number 5 says here, narrowly focusing the topic. And in fact, your first brainstorming exercise will ask you to first brainstorm in a broad way and then narrow your topic as you go. So that's a little bit of introduction to the paper. You're going to tell the story of your personal search for information. So you literally will say in your paper, the first place I looked for information was this. Here's the types of things I found there. Then I realized I needed something else, so I started to search here. And of course, you also want to choose something you're curious about and invested in. I am going to focus our topics on either a cause or causes of something or the effects of something. You can also think about this as considering whether something is harmful or helpful. Maybe there's a new advancement in your career field that you know about and you're thinking, okay, is this harmful or is this helpful? Or, relatively new. If it's brand new, there might not be much research about it yet, but something relatively new to your topic, to your career field. Or, again, to your personal life. Is this harmful or is this helpful? Ooh, I've been using a lot of, Instagram. Is it harmful? Is it helpful? And then we can get more narrow from there. So causes of something, effects of something, and, a way of thinking about effects is harmful or helpful. So you have some reading this week on choosing a topic. So I'm going to reference just a few things from that, and you're going to use that reading to help you do some brainstorming and narrowing down and choosing a topic today. So I want to make sure that you have read this, and what I like about what we have here is that you have some emotional stake in it, so that you care enough to spend the time it's going to take to do the essay. But at the same time, you should be able to keep an open mind about your topic and willing to consider various viewpoints. And we also, again, we're going to work on narrowing. You'll hear a lot about that. So in your brainstorming assignment for this week, your writing process assignment, I want you to list at least 10 potential topics, things you wonder about the causes and or effects of, or whether they're harmful or helpful. So here, causes, you don't have to have 10 in each. I'm looking for 10 total, although you could probably come up with more than 5 here, right? So what are some things you wonder about the causes of that you know are not going to have a clear answer? Please pick something modern. So we don't want to go like causes of World War I. We want something that's currently occurring so that it has that relevance now to your life. So brainstorm here. Write anything that comes to mind. Don't start to trim now. Don't start to narrow things down now. Just anything that comes to mind, at least 5 in this causes section and more if you can. And then in effects, what are some things you wonder if it has a harmful or a helpful effect, or you wonder about the effects of something? Again, let's pick a modern topic, something that is currently occurring so that it has that real world current relevance. We don't want to say what were the effects of World War I, right? We want to stick to now, stick to something that is occurring in the world now. There's this last box here that is optional for you. If you feel like you have some good stuff here, you would probably want to stick with one of those. But if you find yourself wondering about other things, here are some examples of how you might phrase those. Should I do this? Why does this happen? How do these types of things happen? So you can add here. I'm looking for 10 total here. More is definitely better. So once you might want to pause and work on that as we go here. And then exercise 7.1 in the textbook mentions to list 10 total and then cross out cross out the ones that meet these criteria the least. If it's not that interesting to you now that you've thought about it, cross it off. Now, don't delete it from your doc because I want to see that you had them in the first place, but you can use the cross out feature, the text feature, the cross out feature. You could bold the ones that you want to keep, right? So here we go. If I had, what causes, maybe I want to think causes of colon cancer in young adults. Oh, I'm really curious about that. A friend of mine was recently diagnosed, so I want to look into that. But then I decided it's not really relevant to my life. I'm not really that interested in it. In case you don't know where the text feature is, you can go here. Whoops, no, not here. Here we go, format text strike through. So that's how I'm going to show that I'm crossing it off because it's not meeting these requirements that the textbook reminds us of. So you should know a little something already or have some experience with the topic. You should care about the topic. And here's a big one, you're able to keep an open mind about the topic. So some issues like gun control, some issues like reproductive health, things like that, sometimes we feel very settled on, maybe religion, right? And we feel like we have a firm idea of how we stand on that, and we've heard the other side and we don't really go for it. So if it's something like that, you may want to cross it off, or we could narrow to find something that has some more complexity. And the topic fits the boundaries of your assignment. So think about, could I handle this within 2 to 3 pages, or is this a little too gigantic? If it's too gigantic, we can narrow it down. So if you're really committed to it, keep it. So you don't have to decide on one topic yet, but this can help you narrow down to a few that you want to keep and continue on with as we continue to go through the exercises. So the next thing I want you to do, or you can come back to this later, are some of the invention strategies that the textbook lists. So in your reading for this week, there are several different strategies listed: free writing, different types of brainstorming. I want you to choose 2 of those and do those for a couple different topics. So you will do those on this second page here. Maybe you want to do free writing here. Maybe you want to do a cluster here. If you do a cluster, you can go to insert drawing, and then you can do a little clustery drawing, or you can do it on a blank piece of paper, like do it by hand, and then insert a picture here so that I can see it. So you have a couple different options if you like to do like a clustery type of thing. I want you to choose 2 different strategies. You might do them over the same topic, or you might do them over 2 different topics, but I want to see that you're using 2 different strategies here. So, however, you may want to do this instead after you've decided on a topic and narrowed it down. So or you can use it now to help you think about the topics that you've come up with and decide on a topic. So do it now or come back to it after you do the next step. That's up to you. So the next thing here then is to start to narrow. So based on your brainstorming, any of the activities above, identify a potential broad topic, such as, we can ignore for prompt number 1, it's all the same prompt, but how Google impacts intelligence, that's an effect-based one, but that's pretty broad. So then we're going to narrow how social media impacts grandparents' social, emotional. So we get a little more specific here because we have a type of person. And then we're going to get even or a possible different way to narrow it. So, or maybe I want to talk about their physical health, but I'm still narrowed in a particular way. So here on the other side, a different potential topic, maybe the impact of hip hop, but maybe I want to get more specific, the impact of hip hop on adolescents. Or maybe I want to even say the impact of hip hop on the mental health of adolescents, right? So I'm getting more and more narrow as I go. So the next thing we need to do after you've done some of the brainstorming and thinking about potential topics and narrowing potential topics a little bit is to develop a research question. I have a video for you that I found really helpful for students on how to develop a strong research question. Scribr, and I will link that along with this presentation, and you want to watch that as you are working on the final step of the brainstorming, because it does talk you through how to come up with one, how to narrow one, and then how to check and make sure that it's going to be an effective research question for you. So I will link that for you as well.
A good research question.
Some thoughts about specificity and narrowness. The first one here, what effect does social media have on your mind, is pretty broad. It's not as broad as like, how does social media impact us? Because we at least have the mind, right? But it can be a little more specific and narrow. So the second one, what effect does daily use of Twitter, so we have a specific type of social media, have on the attention span? So we have on a particular aspect of the mind, and then of adolescence, right? So we have a specific demographic that we're thinking about as well. So that one is a lot more specific and narrow, and that in turn is going to fit better with the 2 to 3 pages of actual research that you include within this larger paper. Here are different types of research question formulations that might help you as well. These are from the Scribr resource as well. So we know we're thinking about causes and effects as a starting place for this paper. So what are the causes of something? What is the impact of something on something else? How does something influence something else? So that's, again, effects or causes. Advantages or disadvantage, that's sort of asking the help or the harm. And then how effective is something? So that's asking an evaluative question, is this type of thing effective? And that can, again, relate to personal or career types of questions. So to formulate your research questions, you want to watch the resource video provided, and then 2 potential research questions. They can be over the 2 different topics you worked on here. You could pick this one and this one, or this one and this one, or they can be phrased similar. It's phrased differently for the same broad topic, but you're narrowing in different ways. So it's totally up to you. But I want to see 2 potential research questions. Once you submit this, you'll get feedback. I am not going to grade this like A, B, C, D unless it's incomplete or it's not following instructions. So as long as you have followed the instructions and you have potential topics here, you'll get full credit. But I will also give you some of my thoughts, like, oh, this looks really good, or this probably could be narrowed some more. And from there, we can work on finding you a topic and a research question that will work for this paper. So I'm happy to answer any questions via email. If you have come up with a research question and you want some feedback, though, keep in mind you will get feedback on this doc. So I'll work on that over the weekend and into the coming week. Thanks so much, writers, and let me know if you need any guidance on completing this assignment.